from Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where this afternoon WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. It's Jose Abreu, Alexa Ramirez, Avisail Garcia, and our Sox as they get set to butt heads with Paul Molitor's Minnesota Twins. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you Game 3 of this 4-game set. As you may or may not know, we have lost the first two. We lost the opener 12-2. Chris Sale had a tough day. Then last night, Quintana was really good, but we got beat 1-0. So this afternoon, a couple of pitchers out there who have not been out there that often this year.
Hector Nuese going to the mound for the Sox today, and he hasn't pitched since April 21st. He's 2-2 lifetime against the Twins, and on April 21st against the Tribe, he had some problems. Carlos Santana taking him out of the ballpark, but he made some good pitches in that one also. But due to rain and demonstrations, he hasn't been out there in over 10 days. And so you're looking at the head-to-head contrast. Ricky Nolasco had some elbow problems after April 8th. And he had just one rehab stint. He was supposed to get a second one, but they've had injuries in the starting rotation. So here he is today with a pitching limit. He's going to go 75 to 80 pitches. He's never beaten our Sox.
Well, you know, when you're in a funk like we are offensively, there's no question about things that add up to help that. For an example, umpires giving the opposing pitcher close calls. Guys making tremendous plays like we saw last night in the first two games of the series by Minnesota. But we're really struggling offensively.
There's no doubt that there's been pitching problems, defensive problems, but the glaring weakness has been trying to score some runs. That's one of the reasons for the 3-game losing streak. And as you can see, during those 3 games, team hitting just .218, they've scored a grand total of 4 runs. Haven't hit the ball out of the ballpark. The glaring statistic, with runners in scoring position, this team is just 3 of 20. So unless that turns around, it's going to be a whole lot more difficult for the pitchers. There's going to be more pressure on them. And Hector Nuese today is hoping the offense comes to life. It's going to be a very lively ballpark here in the daytime in Minneapolis.
It's a beautiful day here in Minneapolis, so sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
Dan Roan back at Target Field just a couple of minutes before this afternoon's first pitch between the White Sox and Minnesota Twins. As you know, the White Sox are in a bit of a rough patch right now, and even though it's early in the season, Robin Ventura was asked before the game about his team trying to break out of this, maybe trying it a little bit too hard, and about keeping an eye on the standings at this early point in the season.
I mean, you do, just because it's there. I mean, that part is obvious, but as far as playing the game, it's back to just playing daily. It's not about trying to get 5 wins in one day. You know, you're trying to get 1 win one day and win an inning. You know, you go from there, and when you win innings, you end up winning a game, and that's the simple part, is being able to get back to that instead of kind of thinking of all the macro things. You kind of trim it down into things that you can control at that moment, and it's at bat, pitch to pitch, all that stuff that we've all heard, but it becomes very truthful when you're going through a stretch like this. So they have to make it simple and play pitch to pitch, inning to inning, and not worry too far out in the future, because you can't do anything about tomorrow or the next day, but you can have an impactful moment right now.
Beginning today against Ricky Nolasco and the Minnesota Twins. Stay with us. Hawk and Stoney will be back with the call of today's game from Target Field here in Minneapolis right after this.
Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It's a beautiful day in the Twin Cities. Temperature's supposed to get up to 80 degrees today. There's a few clouds in the sky, but otherwise absolutely gorgeous. The wind, not much of a factor today. In the first 2 games of the series, it's been blowing in fairly briskly from right field. As Robin trying to figure out how to shake loose this offense. So let's take a look at how he's going to line them up today. J.B. Shuck leading it off, and it's Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot with Jose Abreu hitting 3rd. Adam LaRoche, the designated hitter. Avisail Garcia with a 7-game hitting streak, and he's doing a pretty good job of it with Alexi Ramirez, Connor Gillespie, Giovanni Soto, and Micah Johnson rounding it out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Ricky Nolasco, Eduardo Escobar in left field, Jordan Schaefer getting his first start of the series in center, Oswaldo Arcia also with his first start in right. Then it's Plouffe, Santana, Dozier, and Maurer in the infield with Kurt Suzuki behind the plate. And Ricky Nolasco on the hill. He had 1 minor league rehab start. He was supposed to get another one, but because of injuries, here he is back in the rotation, and that's the only time he's pitched this season, back on April 8th. So they wonder about location, certainly. Will he have command and control? But they also don't want to pitch him much more than 75 or 80 pitches. So the bullpen will be in evidence here today. The umpires for the game this afternoon: Marvin Hudson behind the plate, Chad Fairchild is at first, Jim Joyce, the crew chief, is at second, and Greg Gibson is at third. And so as J.B. Shuck gets ready to hit, They've thrown the ball around the infield, which means we're ready to play baseball. And I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
Hi, Stevie. Thank you once again. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN. So happy you could join us for Game 3 of this 4-game set. Before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. As here is J.B. Shuck. And the first pitch of the ball game, and make no mistake about it, even though Nolasco has not been out there very often, you don't win 95 games in the big leagues unless you're a pretty good pitcher.
And he had some days with the Florida and then Miami Marlins where he was a very good pitcher.
So Mauer will make the play. And with one out, let's check out our picks to click today. Jim Angio, our director and crew. Well, they're going with Soto. Steve is going with Gillespie. And I'm going to take my partner, Steve Stone, as my partner today. And he's going to be the recipient of the Ring Lardner Award on Monday night. And congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Here's Melky.
And I get to ride Melky Cabrera today.
As well. That's exactly
Terrific.
right. And I know the reason that you took Connor is the only reason is because he's 5 for 8 off the
No, that is not the reason.
You know what? You can go to hell for lying like you can for stealing.
I hardly ever read those numbers.
You're so full of it. So that's down low. 2-1 to count.
Melky's been my horse. He's the guy that I have taken most of this year. He's done a pretty good job of it. Nolasco has 2 different types of curveballs. One straight over the top, a little slower than his other short, quick breaking curveball.
That's outside. And the count's 3-1. And there's a shot. So 1 out, 1 on, and you know it's only part of the game. People are asking Robin and talking to him about what's he going to take to get the club out of here. If he could answer that, they wouldn't be there in the first place.
Just a question of at bat to at bat, inning to inning, breaking things down to its simplest parts and pitch to pitch. And that time, Nolasco fell behind 3-1. Melky looking for a fastball all the way, got one right down the middle and hit the daylights out of it.
Here's Abreu at 278, 5 homers, 15 knocked in. Well, it's like a virus. It's going to run its course. And it always has. This is the way the game has always been played, and it always will be. This will not be the only slump that we get into this year.
We'd certainly like to see one affect both Detroit and Kansas City.
They will hit theirs. They will hit theirs. If they don't, more power to them.
Well, Kansas City has beaten Detroit a couple of games in that series. They've taken over the lead. They're 16-7. They lead by 1.5 games over Detroit.
And that's a fair ball. That's good base running right there by Melky. He had a good lead. He got a good jump. So they get Abreu 2 down.
Plouffe wanted to go to second base, but he couldn't get the handle. Melky takes off. He is hustling, putting a little pressure on Trevor Plouffe, who was thinking about 2, certainly thinking about getting a lead man, but right there, he couldn't get the handle before making the throw to first.
That's just good baseball right there. That's just good base running. So here is LaRoche, Adam, 2 for 7 in the series. And he has faced Nolasco more than anybody on this team. 56 times. He has 16 hits.
For the first time in the series, they've shifted on LaRoche and done it the way they probably should. And that is with Dozier, the second baseman, on the outfield grass. The first time up yesterday, when Adam got a base hit, they were playing Santana well on the third base side of second. Second time up, when he got a base hit, They were playing Dozier in on the dirt. So even though they were shifted, they weren't taking advantage of their own shift. Cost him 2 hits. Didn't cost him any runs, however.
Two out, 2-1 the count, with Melky at second. As I mentioned, these two have a history.
And you would think with first base open, he would be pretty careful.
That's what he's doing. He's being very careful.
Because it's pretty lively in the daytime in this ballpark.
Ooh, he got a pretty good pitch to hit right there.
You got that fastball up and out over the plate and fouled it straight back. Now the wind has picked up somewhat, and it is blowing once again in from right field.
And there's ball 4. So here's Avi. Avi 3 for 6 in the series. Comes in hitting at .310 with a homer and driven in 4. He's been the one guy who, actually Cabrera as well, swinging the bat, hitting the ball pretty hard throughout this funk that we've been in. Breaking ball strike.
That's a short, quick breaking ball that Nolasco has. He originally was drafted by the Chicago Cubs in the 4th round back in 2001. Eventually making his way to then the Florida Marlins.
Oh, and 2.
Ricky's best year by far was 2008. He was 15-8 for the Marlins. His ERA 3.52. He made 32 starts that year and picked up 212 innings. Also eclipsed the 200 inning mark back in 2011.
He got a rolling breaking ball, hit it hard. Stretch! Not going to try. Arcia hauls it in. And that'll do it. After half inning play, side guys nothing, and their guys coming to bat.
Ryan Dozier leading off, then Torrey Hunter, the DH. Then it's Mauer, Plouffe, and Suzuki, followed by Escobar, Arcia, Schaefer, and Santana rounding it out. The defense, and out they'll line up behind Nuese. Cabrera, Shuck, and Garcia in the outfield with Gillespie, Ramirez, Johnson, and Abreu in the infield. Gio Soto with the nod behind the plate, and Hector Nuese on the hill, looking for his third career win against these Twins.
Dozier comes in hitting at .221, a couple of homers, driven in 10. He's 3 for 9 in this series with a 3-run homer. That's coming off Chris Sale. It's sharply down to corner, 1 out. Twins come in hitting at .243 with a 4.17 team ERA. Our guys are hitting .238 with a 4.41 ERA.
Hector Nuese is going through what just about every number 5 starter goes through at the beginning of the year. You're going to miss your turn because of rainouts and off days. You don't expect riots and demonstrations to affect your rotation, but it certainly has with Nuese. He was making only his 3rd start of the year.
Ball hit sharply. So 2 hard hit ground balls, 2 down.
Despite the fact that Hector is 0-2 this year, opponents hitting just .205 against him. If you give up 9 hits per 9 innings, the opponents are going to hit .250 against you. So anything less than that is a testament to your stuff. And when you're hitting just .205, you should expect to be better than 0-2.
Here's Mauer, 3 for 8 in the series, hitting at .307. Mauer has faced Hector 17 times, has 5 hits. Soft comebacker and a nice inning. 1-2-3, and after 1, no score. Alexei, Gillespie, and Soto to face Ricky Nolasco out of Miami. 32 years old, 6'2", 235 pounds. Love the way Alexei took that pitch. There's a little soft duck snort in the center field.
Alexei got a fastball, and that's what he wants to hit. I think Noese tried to get it up and into him and couldn't quite get it there on the Xfinity pitch tracks. You'll see that he's trying to throw a high fastball by him. He doesn't have quite the life on the fastball since coming back from the injury. And a promising way to start the second inning.
Here's Connor hitting at 208. No homers. He's driven in 4. Connor's been hitting the ball hard, and for the most part coming up empty.
He's hit a couple of balls in this series right on the screws, but with the wind blowing in from right field, if you're trying to take it out to right center, you better think again.
Well, that play that Torrey Hunter made on him last night turned out to be one of, if not the big play of the ball game. Leading off the 5th inning, he just killed this ball, and Torrey goes back. And the thing that made that look even harder than it was, you see right there when he banged into the wall, was the fact he was playing fairly shallow. He got back there in a hurry. And after he made that catch, there was a base hit by Flowers. You know, fielder's choice, it would have scored a run.
Well, Torrey's used to going up over the wall.
He's going to have problems doing that there.
No, he's not going to be able to do it here. But he certainly was able to do it in the Metrodome and did it a lot.
Well, what he's done in center field, he's leaving a legacy in baseball. There he goes. There goes Alexei. That ball hit hard. Get up. And that is off the wall. Now, Alexei had to stop. So Connor goes into second with a double. So Ducks on the pond, nobody out.
Oswaldo Arcia is not near the defender that Torrey Hunter is. Odds are overwhelming he's not going to get to this one anyway, but he jumped a little too soon, and Alexei, he got to second base, not knowing if the ball is going to be caught, not knowing exactly where to look. Finally, he figures it out, then has to touch the bag, then retouch the bag and get to third.
Here's Soto. Giovanni takes strike 1.
Well, Molitor has got his infield, so they're going to concede the run unless it's a shot hit to Plouffe. Everybody else is back.
Breaking ball, pretty good pitch, didn't get it.
That was a very good pitch, and Marvin Hudson, for whatever reason, decided to call it out of the zone. That's a break for Gio.
Well, that's a good sign, because as we said, as he can't get that one. Well, as long as they keep throwing Connor fastballs, he's going to be hitting the ball hard.
Yes, he is.
But that's when we were talking about, mentioned the umpires yesterday and the day before and today in the opening. We're not getting on the umpires. It's just symptomatic with a team being in a slump that you don't get breaks in this game. You make your own breaks. And when you're playing bad, you're going bad. Is that breaking ball? Came back, called him out, so 1 out. That's just one of the symptoms.
This is a slow hook that we told you Nolasco has. And it just barely shaved off the inside corner. So it freezes Giovanni. And he looks at a called third.
So here's Micah.
Now Plouffe in to take away a bunt possibility.
Well, if he wants to drag one towards Dozier, probably going to give himself a base hit and knock in a run and put a man on third. Yeah, when you're going good, you get all those close calls. When you're going bad, the other team gets those close calls.
Arcia has a very accurate arm in right field. But talking with Joe McEwing, he said they're probably going to run on him only because he takes a bit to get rid of it. So he is a little slow on the delivery, but it's fairly strong and pretty accurate.
They don't get him. The speed of Micah Johnson. And it's 1-0. Good guys.
It's probably a situation where Joe Mauer went off the bag too far, not knowing where Dozier was. If he knew where Dozier was, he would have stayed at first base, knowing that Micah Johnson's got huge speed, and to have the pitcher try to beat him over there while locating the play is difficult. Looked like could very well be that Nolasco got stepped on at first base. But Joe is a good first baseman. But that time he didn't check out where his second baseman was, and it cost him a base hit.
Well, Gillespie's still at second base. He didn't know if Alexei was going to be coming home on that play. He didn't know if Mauer was going to make the play and hold Alexei as third.
Looks like there's going to be a challenge on the play at first base. Now let's see if Micah stepped on Nolasco. Ricky is saying that he got there ahead of him at first base. And he's out.
So 2 down. And we still have the run, and we still have a man in scoring position.
First run batted into the year for Micah Johnson. And he was peeled out of a base hit.
And there's a base hit that's going to knock in our second run. So Connor, here's the throw to second base. He gone. But the run scores. And we pick up a pair. We lead it 2-0. To the bottom of the second inning. It'll be Plouffe, Suzuki, and Escobar to face Hector Noesi. Plouffe, 1 for 6 in the series, comes in at 244, 3 homers, and 8 knocked in. And our congratulations go out to our Hawks. That ball hit high and deep. And gone. It is a 2-1 ball game.
Trevor Plouffe, even though he's a cleanup hitter, he's got an .824 slugging percentage when leading off an inning, which is somewhat remarkable. But if he gets a hittable fastball, especially if it's middle in high, he's going to put a charge into it. And he did just that. That's his 4th home run. Take a look at the location. It's a hanging breaking ball. It stayed on the inside part of the plate, and Plouffe took it out. So the lead cut in half.
Well, there are a lot of guys going to hit that pitch out of the ballpark. Those spiral breaking balls have a tendency to go a long way. Suzuki, he's 1 for 7 with an RBI in the series. And that is softly hit in the center field. 1 out. Big day in sports today. Got a lot of baseball. The Kentucky Derby. And a big fight tonight from Las Vegas.
Should be a dandy. Wish it happened 4 years ago, but it should be a dandy.
It's going to absolutely destroy every money record ever.
There's no doubt about that.
HBO's done a good job in prepping this fight. That's high. Can of corn. 2 down. Escobar now 2 for 8 in the series with a couple of RBIs, but they had a couple of vignettes, so to speak, on Mayweather and Pacquiao leading up to this. And in one of them, it said, Mayweather said that he had earlier offered Pacquiao $40 million.
Which was probably about 25 or 30% of what
he's going to get,
of what it was going to be at the time.
But it sounded good at the time. Yeah. $40 million.
But obviously Pacquiao felt that he was as good as Mayweather and didn't want to take second money in that matchup.
Here's a very strong Oswaldo Arcia. Hitting at 250, a couple of homers. He's driven in 7.
Oswaldo is going to strike out a lot, but if he does make contact, he can hit it just about as far as anybody. Before we came to town, he actually took one over the stands in right field onto the concourse, which is a huge blast. Kind of in Jim Thome territory back up there when he hit the flagpole.
Well, Arcia is strong, but he's not that strong. He's not Thome strong.
There's where Jim hit it. He also hit some prolific shots to straightaway center field and to left center here.
Longest ball we have seen hit was foul.
The Tyler Flowers foul ball?
Yeah. He gone, but the leadoff homer by Trevor Plouffe is a 2-1 Sox lead. back in the first inning. 2-4-0 for our guys, 1-1-0 for their guys.
We told you the drastic difference between a night game here and a day game here. We've already seen it. Gillespie hit the wall into the wind in right field, and Plouffe took it out into the bullpen in left center. During night games, probably neither would have wound up where they did.
Checks it up, and the count 1-2.
One thing the Sox offense would like to do is move up that pitch count on Ricky Nolasco, because being allowed only 75 to 80 pitches, if you can get into that first guy or two coming out of the bullpen, that's usually the weak spot in anybody's pen.
Breaking ball, flips that foul. Zooming to their left side. Well, coming in, we had the lowest on base percentage in the American League.
And fewest runs scored. They kind of go hand in hand.
And no team has seen fewer 3-1 counts. We're seeing the 5th worst number of pitches per at bat. As there is a solid hit into left field. So Melky, 2 for 2, and a good way to start things off.
Enjoy being a White Sox season ticket holder with a prorated 71-game full or 23 or 4-game split season ticket plan. Great locations are available now. Packages begin during the week of May 5th, so to purchase or to view a full list of benefits, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000 today.
Here's Abreu. Takes the strike. Jose now 1 for 9 in the series. Granted out to Plouffe, the third, his first trip. And as we discussed last night of the game, we just hope that Abreu will stay in his own zone. He's expanded his zone lately because of the few runs we've been scoring. We've been averaging 3.37 runs a game. That's lowest in the American League. And you can't fall into that trap if you're a guy like Abreu, a guy like the big hurt Frank Thomas. You can't fall into that trap. Ball gets away. Sam Melky, here he goes. Now he pulls it up as Mauer gets it back in.
Thinking he can pick off Cabrera. That throw to the outfield side of first base. It's not a horrible throw. Joe didn't make the catch, but it is charged E1 to Nolasco.
Going to the count. Watch out, that hit him. He'll take it. First 2 men aboard.
He tried to throw the same slow curveball that he used to strike out Soto last inning. But this one just floated inside. Suzuki wants it low and away. Doesn't get it there.
Now, if you're going to get hit, that's the pitch to get hit by.
73-mile-an-hour slow hook.
Here's Adam. He walked. Uh-oh. Rack him up. 2 down. So here's Avi with Cabrera at third.
Santana got a good relay throw off. He really struggled defensively, both with the glove and the throwing arm. Last year he was their center fielder. They always viewed him as an everyday shortstop, but he's committed 8 errors this year in just 20 games.
Well, we saw him a few times at short last year as well. He looked good. He just doesn't look comfortable out there.
Now, I'm not sure if it's a transition after playing center field and then moving to shortstop. Whatever it is, he's got all kinds of talent. And certainly the Twins haven't given up on him. He's still a very young player. He's got a strong arm. He can do a lot of things well, but this year he's made some careless errors as well as some careless throws.
Ivy with a 1-2 count. There's a shot base hit. Boy, he made a mistake. Just rolled it up there, and Avi just crushed it. It's 3-1.
He extends that hitting streak to 8 games. And on our Mazda replay, that one on the outer third with 2 strikes. You can tell there's a whole lot of rust on Ricky Nolasco, and that's to be expected. He should have made one more minor league start, but they decided to move Tommy Milone, who's supposed to pitch today, into the bullpen, which for the Sox is a good thing, because although everybody in the league was hitting Milone, the Sox don't seem to ever be able to do that. Much rather face Nolasco, especially a rusty Ricky, and so the offense taking advantage of it.
We have never hit Tommy Milone.
Nope. And he looked very good the only time out against our ball club this year.
There he goes. Bobby wants to challenge. So Robin is going to go to the top step.
Well, it's probably the best throw that Suzuki's made all year. That being said, it might not have been there in time. The throw was right on the money. Looked to me like his foot was on the bag before the tag was on the knee.
He's safe.
He tagged him on the knee. He holds up the glove to show Jim Joyce. Avi says absolutely he was in there. He wanted the appeal right away. And we'll wait and see what they say in New York. This might be our best angle on the play. Watch the front foot.
In the tag.
Looked like the foot's on the bag when the tag is there, but the question is it definitive enough to overturn the call?
Well, they're playing it up there on the big screen, and the umpires are watching the monitor down there. No, they don't have a monitor down there. The MLB person was holding. I thought she had a screen. foot's on the bag. There's no question about that. So it is a long review.
Anytime you have a review this long,
you're just looking for more angles, if in fact there are any.
And the question then becomes, is it definitive?
They will take some of our angles, some of Minnesota's angles. Bobby's still waiting out there second base along with Darrell Boston. Bobby's hit the ball very hard twice today. First time up, he flies deep to right field, fighting that wind. And that time he just got another mistake from Nolasco and tattooed it right into center field.
That's to be expected. When you haven't started a major league game in 3.5 weeks, you're going to be rusty and you're going to make mistakes, and Nolasco has. The encouraging thing is that Sox hitters have been able to take advantage of those mistakes.
Now they have come to a decision. And it appeared to be a bad decision. But that'll retire the side. We do pick up a run, and we lead it 3-1.
White Sox game day, and he might be today's White Sox fan of the game. White Sox fan photo of the game is brought to you by Beggar's Pizza, now at 22 locations. Visit beggarspizza.com. Beggar's Pizza, they lay it on thick.
3-1 the lead. Bottom of the third inning, it'll be Schaefer, Santana, then back to the top of the order with Dozier. Jordan Schaefer out of Haines City, Florida, hitting it 188, no homers. He's driven in 2.
Schaefer originally out of the Braves organization. His only home run of last year came off Hector Nuese on September 14th.
He's 4 for 8 against Hector. Jacks it up. 2 balls and a strike.
Braves decided they wanted Michael Bourne from the Astros, and they traded Jordan Schaefer and 3 minor league left-handers to get him. But one of the things he can do is run. 792 all-time stolen base percentage. Not too many better than that around baseball.
He's 0 for 2 this year.
Gio Soto goes out to talk with Nuese. It was a fairly long top of the third, and he's telling him, don't give many gifts.
Danny Santana hitting at 247. 1 for 7 in this series. He's hit Hector. Well, 5 for 14 with a homer.
This year Santana's been a better right hand than a left hand hitter.
Schaefer, good lead. Santana takes ball 1. Count evens. Gillespie at the cut of the grass, the third. Outfield, for the most part, straight up, spread out. Maybe a little bit of a gap out there in left center.
Last year, Santana hit .319 and stole 20 bases. It was a breakout year for him offensively. Didn't draw many walks. Fanned 98 times, only walked 19 times, but that's certainly the characteristic of a very young and very aggressive hitter.
Two and one. Two balls, two strikes. The 24-year-old switch hitting shortstop, center fielder.
He's fanned 25 times this year. He has yet to draw a base on balls, so odds are overwhelming. If it's in the neighborhood, he's going to be swinging.
Well, Gio and Alexi wants to hear what's going on.
Well, if he's going to throw him a fastball away, Alexi probably would like to cheat a step or two to his right. He's going to throw him a breaking ball, trying to wipe him out there. He'd like to play more up the middle.
And that's flipped into the crowd. Souvenir time. Nice crowd on hand. They're averaging almost 22,000 a game.
You have many more than that here this afternoon.
Yeah.
And you couldn't ask for a better day for baseball. It's absolutely gorgeous. Knocking at the door of 80 degrees.
Another foul back.
For the majority of this at bat, he's trying to keep everything away. Only choosing to go in one time.
Another good lead by Schaefer. Good job by Abreu. Started to break over for the ball. He made the correction.
Mother's Day is May 10th, and the White Sox have dedicated Saturday, May 9th, as Mother-Son Night at the ballpark. In addition to specially priced tickets and parade passes, the first 10,000 ladies ages 14 and up will receive a Mother's Day tote. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/mom.
Whistle that one right by him. Dozier grounded out hard to Gillespie. Oh, and 2 the count.
That's a way that you can take a dead fastball hitter, which Dozier is, and still throw a fastball by him. Just keep it up and out of the zone.
One and 2. He gone. 2 down.
Took a little something off and threw it in a perfect spot. Low and away, had the zone.
That's just a nasty pitch.
Looked like a bit of a cutter.
So here's Hunter. He hit the ball hard to Alexei back in the first inning. There's a spinning strike. And a fastball. So the count 0-2. It's popped up and it's going to be a souvenir.
That was a very good pitch, and he didn't get the call. Bumped it up to 94 miles an hour. I think he surprised Hunter with velocity. It's kind of borderline. It's a tempting pitch when you're ahead of the hitter. But Torrey didn't go after it.
Two out and a 1-2 delivery. Got 2 pitches to make a good one. With Joe Mauer on deck.
Hunter last year drove in 83 with the Tigers. Had 17 home runs and hit 286, showing there was still some life.
That ball hit hard. This game is tied at 3.
Hector's now given up 4 home runs this year, including the 2 today. He made a mistake. It was over the middle of the plate. And Torrey Hunter, back after 8 years with his beloved Twins, ties up the game. This one just right down the middle. It looked like the same pitch he struck out Dozier. It was 88 miles an hour, only it wasn't blowing away this time. It was thigh high over the middle of the plate and gone.
So here's Mauer. Hit a little soft comebacker. Well, you got to expect both these guys. They've not been out there much at all this year. They're not going to be sharp.
Nope, only the second start of the year for Nolasco and the third start of the year for Noesi. Last start for Hector was the 21st of April. Last start for Nolasco was the 8th of April.
That's into left field. Melky back on the track, makes a catch. It's a leadoff walk, got him in trouble, and Torrey Hunter made him pay. And we're in the top of the 4th. 3-6-0 for us. 3, just 2 and 1 for them. Here's Alexi. He singled and scored. Takes first pitch strike. Had a bat by Hunter. The one again symptomatic of when the team is struggling. Made a good pitch. Right at the bottom of the zone, didn't get it. We're on a 4-5 game winning streak. That would have been strike 3.
Alexi, lifetime, a .314 hitter against these Twins.
And that's up the middle. So once again,
join the Chicago White Sox for Weather Day, presented by WGN-TV on May 7th at U.S. Cellular Field. Prior to the game versus the Detroit Tigers, WGN-TV meteorologist Tom Skilling will host a program focused on the weather, which will include experiments and a video presentation. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/WGN. And learn from the master, Tom Skilling, weather aficionado.
Here's Gillespie. As long as they keep throwing him fastballs, he's going to still hit the ball hard. Last time up, just rifle one off that wall for his 6th two-bagger. Out in front of that off-speed pitch.
There was a hanging breaking ball up in the zone. One just stays up at 79 miles an hour. Doesn't do a great deal. They signed Velasco to a big free agent contract and didn't get much out of him last year. It was very disappointing for him and the Twins. He was just 6-12 last year with an ERA of 5.38. The Twins starting rotation had an ERA up over 5, and that was one of the real weak spots of this team.
Breaking ball. 2-1 to count.
The last 2 years in a row, in fact, this Twins starting rotation was the last in the major leagues in starting pitching ERA. 2012, they were 29th. So Terry Ryan, the GM, knew he had to do something about it, but injuries to this point have derailed his plans.
Took something off that one and missed. So the count 3-1. Well, they also signed Irving Santana.
Suspension didn't help him.
Nope. Santana, pretty good pitcher.
Probably another 30 pitches or so, maybe even less, to go for Nolasco before they start thinking about that bullpen and putting him in.
And that is hit hard but foul. Right now, Nolasco has to be pinpoint. A little bigger lead now by Lexley. There he goes. There's a strike him out.
Didn't call him out at first, but then Alexi came off the bag on the slide, tried to hit the back of the bag. And it looked like Santana kept the glove on him, which is a wise thing to do. So to strike him out, throw him out.
So the second double play turn.
You see right there, he comes off the bag, tries to hook it with his hand, tries to hook it with his leg. Neither effective, and he's out.
Here's Soto. He struck out. Slow curveball got him. So one pitch away from having a possible big inning. 2 on, nobody out. Now there's 2 out, nobody on. And the count 0-2.
Sox have stolen 4 bases this year, and they've been thrown out 7 times. Tried to nip that outside corner, but it was just off the plate.
There's that hook again, so another strikeout. Had a threat going and couldn't do anything with it.
Logging on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone to get the latest stats and information. The Sox Game Zone is powered by Robert Morris University, Illinois, offering over 55 athletic teams. That's more than any other university in the state. For more information on RMU, visit robertmorris.edu.
We're in the bottom of the 4th inning in this 3-3 tie. Trevor Plouffe, who homered, leading off the 2nd, takes ball 1. Ivy giving chase, but it's foul.
There's a school of thought here in the Twin Cities that one of their top prospects, Miguel Sano, is a third baseman. When he's up and ready to go and he's coming off Tommy John surgery, but the arm is 100%, that he would take over third and Plouffe would probably move to the outfield, which he's played before, and they'd keep his bat in the lineup. Sano can really hit, and he's improved his third base play. So along with Byron Buxton, it gives him 2 shining stars in the minor leagues that are probably going to be up this year.
So far, the 2nd inning in a row, he walks the leadoff man.
Osmeal Pinto was supposed to be one of the catchers considered for an everyday position, but he got hurt. And then the defense wasn't quite where it should be, so they brought in Suzuki as a veteran stabilizing force for what they felt was a young pitching staff. And he's always hurt the Sox.
Kurt Suzuki will be the hitter. He went out to center field.
He's pretty much like the catching equivalent of Ryan Rayburn as far as loving to hit against Sox pitching.
Takes the bunt, takes the ball.
Last year, named to the All-Star team for the first time in his career.
There goes the runner. Hit and run on. And the count evens at 1.
One thing catchers are forced to do on a hit and run is come up out of their crouch. And normally, if the ball is fouled off, you have a real good idea it's going to be off part of your anatomy. And that's what happened to Gio Soto that time as he was coming up to throw. We'll take a look at it. You got to come up. You got to be ready to go when you see the runner start to go, but not hit awfully hard that time.
There's a strike and the count 1-2. Finale of the series tomorrow. 1:10 start. That game on Comcast Sportsnet. It'll be Johnny Danks against Mike Pelfrey. That's into center field. Shot coming on. Can't get there.
Pretty good play by JB. He trapped the short hop and thought he had a shot at Plouffe at second base. Just missing getting it. The sinking line drive is Suzuki just in protection mode. Drops it in front of Shuck. The throw just a touch late as Plouffe helping Jim Joyce on the call.
So 2 on, nobody out. Trouble brewing, and here's Escobar, who went out to center field.
Yesterday they were in a similar situation with Santana up, and Santana, the best bunter on this team, was not asked to bunt by Paul Molitor. Let's see what they decide to do with Escobar, who has yet to lay down a sacrifice this year.
Now Abreu thinks he is, as does Gillespie. So now Hector has given up 3 hits, one of which has stayed in the park.
Unless you have overwhelming stuff, leadoff walks will come back to bite you, as the leadoff walk did last inning, and Hector's hoping the leadoff walk doesn't come back to haunt him this inning.
Two 2-0 the count.
Gene Glynn, the third base coach, going through his set of signs. Escobar, much better left-hand hitter than right.
Well, we have given up 13 leadoff walks, 5 of which have crossed home plate. Seems like a lot more than that.
When you're struggling, it always does. It seems like everyone you give up winds up scoring, and the Sox bullpen up and going for the first time. If he doesn't get Escobar, we're going to see Don Cooper to buy some time. It most likely, and we can't tell, but it's most likely Carlos Rodon throwing in the pen.
Three balls and a strike for the former White Sox all-purpose player.
Here's a look at Carlos, who has 2 appearances. Last time out in Baltimore, he threw the ball exceptionally well.
That's high into left field. Melky fighting that sun. Makes the catch, gets it back in. So a big out.
Probably the advantage today is that there are some clouds. It is a bright sunny afternoon. Cumulus clouds upstairs. And Melky makes a nice play. And even though Plouffe tagged up, you're not going to run on Melky in left field.
Oswaldo Arcia struck out his first trip. One of 2 strikeouts by Noesi. Way out in front.
Arcia is young enough and powerful enough where they hope that the defense catches up with the offensive potential. He's playing right field today. He made a very good catch against our ball club in left field at U.S. Cellular.
That's into center field. Shuck is there. 2 out.
Hey, Sox fans, the Xfinity Fundamental deck at U.S. Cellular Field is accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. Learn baseball fundamentals from Chicago White Sox Training Academy coaches, including batting and pitching cages, base running areas, and more. It's all from Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
A 3-3 tie here in the bottom of the 4th inning. With 2 on 2 out, and that'll bring up Jordan Schaefer, who walked leading off last inning and scored ahead of Torrey Hunter's 2-run homer. Schaefer takes ball 1. Schaefer was born in Hammond, Indiana, and now, as I said, resides in Haines City, Florida. It's a little southwest of Orlando. Two and over the count. That's snapped. So he gets the first 2 guys on, pitches out of it, and we're still tied at 3.
celebrating the 30th anniversary of the hit film. Visit the DeLorean Time Machine and post-game fireworks show set to the Back to the Future soundtrack. That's presented by UI Health. To purchase tickets, visit whitessox.com/promos.
First pitch to Micah Johnson, leading off here in the top of the 5th inning, taken for a strike. Micah 0 for 1 with an RBI, his first major league RBI.
Now Plouffe will move back at third base. He was well in on the grass. Mauer, who was just in back of the bag at first, will move back.
Tried to backdoor him. That breaking ball lifted out into right field.
The Twins started out 1-6 this year, so the fact that they're at 11-12 gives Paul Molitor some hope that the team is starting to come together. They are 7-4 at home entering action today. There's the Hall of Famer and first-year manager. I talked with him about his coaching staff and the fact that it's not easy in the first year. Not easy for anybody, even a guy who's been around the game his whole life. And he said he never had experience anywhere as a manager. He's had a lot of help from his coaching staff. He loves the fact that Eddie Gordato, former closer, is his bullpen coach. Neil Allen, first-year major league pitching coach, sits with him and gives him a lot of help on how to handle the staff.
21 to count to JB, who was 1 for 2. With an RBI, 2 out. Base hit back in the second. You're just tuning in. We scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third. They scored 1 in the second, 2 in the third. As there is another base hit by JB Shuck.
He's getting an opportunity to play because Adam Eaton has been sick. And Robin completely ruled him out of action today. He said he's just not well enough for any kind of baseball activity. So Shuck, who got a chance to start in the ball game last night, where he was 0 for 3, got a couple of hits today.
Here's a man with a couple of hits today, Melky Cabrera. He also has scored a run. And a nice gap out there in right center if he can find it.
Kurt Suzuki is 2 for 2 in cutting down would-be base stealers, which is a radical departure from what has happened coming into this game. Base stealers were successful 17 times in 22 attempts.
Well, in reality, he could be 0 for 2 today, too.
He could be.
Certainly lucky. Like, Abasil was safe. And Alexei had the bag, but he came off of it.
He did.
Two and 0.
As we get closer to the pitch count, that's going to send Nolasco from this game. Aaron Thompson warming up in the pen.
Chuck, just a decent lead. Softly hit. Good play by Dozier. Very good play.
A strong play going to his left. So Brian Dozier, who was an all-around player, probably ticketed as a utility role until he started to come of age. Hit the ball. You can always find a space for you. He's gotten better and better at second. This is a great effort to cut down the lead man.
Well, let's face it, against us, he has played a terrific second base since we've seen it.
I talked to Bert Blyleven about him. He said he reminds him of Mike Kadire. in that when Kadire was drafted, he was drafted as a shortstop. Later played some third, has played the outfield. They moved him to second at one point and played some first base. So he played everywhere.
Breaking ball hangs high and inside.
But Kadire, just a terrific player. Wound up going over the National League and leading the league in hitting for the Colorado Rockies. And there's a look at the Dutchman, Bert Blyleven, the author of not only 60 shutouts, but 242 major league complete games.
Had a few strikeouts in there as well.
Just a few. Well, had one of the best curveballs in the history of the game. And always felt that if he started the game, he should finish that game. And there's a look at one of the retired numbers. What a pitcher he was.
I used to love to watch him pitch. He got it and threw it. We were talking, Bert and I were talking about that yesterday. He said, well, he grew up watching Gibson and Drysdale and all those guys, and he said they got it and threw it. Slow curveball, and Jose way out of sorts.
When Bert finally decided that was enough, he was third all time in strikeouts. Only Nolan Ryan and Steve Carlton were ahead of him at that point.
Bert threw 50 home runs one year.
He was around the plate with everything. And if they're mostly solo shots, it's not a big deal.
Another slow breaking ball. We're halfway home, tied at 3. Ninth place hitter will lead it off, fakes the bunt, and takes the ball. Santana grounded out to Micah Johnson. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for our guys. 3 runs, just 3 hits. 1 error for their guys. That ball hit deep in the left field. It's off the wall. So the leadoff double.
Fortunately, the wind stopped. Otherwise, it blows that one out of the park. He gets a high fastball, slices it away from Melky. And the wind blowing in from right field almost took it out at the 339 mark.
Here's Dozier. He is grounded to third and struck out. Took that fastball just off the inside corner. Took it nicely.
You have to be really careful with a fastball to this guy if you're going to go middle in, especially down.
He did not. That was not a good effort right there by Brian Dozier. I am absolutely shocked.
He never even thought about inside outing that or looking for a pitch that he could take to the right side. When you're ahead 1-0, you can't be swinging at this pitch. It's inside, it's off the plate, and there's really not much you can do. He was looking to pull that ball the whole time. And Santana stays right there at second base.
If you're leading 7-0 or trailing 7-0,
different story.
It's a different story. Well, you're in a tie ball game in the 5th inning. Wow, that's a shocker. So Torrey Hunter fakes the bunt.
That would have been a pretty good idea, especially with Joe Mauer coming up next, in that Connor Gillespie was way back at third base. Torrey, pretty smart hitter.
Well, there are not too many smarter players around than Torrey Hunter. You never saw him throw to the wrong base. I never remember him overthrowing a cutoff guy.
You saw our fourth drive of the game. That was the 2-run homer, the second of the year by Torrey Hunter. He now has 194 in a Twin uniform. He needs 14 more to pass his late mentor, Kirby Puckett, and that one went right off Soto.
2-1 to count.
That one got him on the inside of the right thigh. Actually looked like it went off the left shin guard before it hit the right thigh. Catchers take a pounding, no doubt about that.
Well, Torrey has hit it hard both times today. Once, as you just saw, out of the ballpark. .33 career home runs against us, leading all active players. He has definitely been a Sox killer. And there's the base hit. Taking a hold Santana now as Melky got to it, got it back in.
That ball caromed off the glove of Gillespie. And the break was that it didn't slow it down all that much, because Santana, with great speed, was thinking about scoring. Just barely tipped the glove, and it did get to Cabrera.
That was a bad break for us that he even hit his glove. As it turned out, it was okay because he still got there.
Gene Glenn held him up, and Robin is going to come out. That is going to be it for Nuese. He's going to depart this game. So as Carlos Rodon comes into this, we'll step out and be back after these messages. Didn't do a particularly bad job today, considering that he hadn't been out there in just under 2 weeks. Gave up the 5 hits. He's charged with the base runners at first and third as Carlos Rodon comes out for the 3rd time. His ERA 5.40, and he's going to face 3-time American League batting champion Joe Mauer with a go-ahead run 90 feet away.
Mauer has bounced softly back to the pitcher and then fly deep to left field. Mauer coming in with no homers, 13 RBIs. Now the outfield shifts radically around to the left. Javi Garcia about as far off that right field line as you'll ever see a right fielder play. Hunter, decent lead at first. Fastball at 96, misses.
Mauer in last night's game grounded into 2 double plays. Get it to Alexi twice for 6-3 double plays.
Well, when he faces somebody for the first time, especially a rookie, and you get yourself a 2-0 count, you've got the catbird seat.
Well, you know definitively you're not going to get a slider, certainly, and most likely you're going to get a fastball, and here it is.
That one at 96.
He got his fastball, but he got it inside and off the plate, and Mauer couldn't do anything with it. Good spot for it.
That slider. He gets back even at 2-2.
Well, now if Gio's going to call his slider the best one that Rodon has, like most pitchers for a wipeout pitch, it's going to wind up either in the dirt or close enough. So he's got to be ready to block it, and he's called the slider.
Lays off of it. Two fastballs, 2 sliders, and a full count. Payoff pitch. So that'll load him up. Far. Trevor Plouffe. Trevor is 1 for 1, a leadoff homer in the 2nd inning. Then he walked the leadoff the 4th. He takes outside at 97. Sacks packed with Twinkies. Santana, Hunter, and Mauer. Got the slider. Another one. And the count 1-2. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, but if it's down, do indeed block it.
We saw that yesterday. I hate that pitch for the man on third.
And that was down in a good block by Gio.
Yes, it was.
Try to get a little something extra on this one, and Gio went down.
Two. That fastball at 98.
Booth doesn't have particularly good speed. If he does make contact, then he probably won't make it on a slider. But if he makes contact, he is a good double play target.
There was a slider guarding the plate, fights it off. Three runs, 8 hits for us. 3 runs, 5 hits for them, but 1 out, bases loaded. Flips that one into right field for a base hit.
Well, one of the things that Sox pitcher is going to have to work on is backing up the play. So that was in the middle of the infield and not behind Gio Soto. If this ball gets away, there is nobody behind Gio to back him up. Carlos right here is a spectator. If there is going to be a throw, it most likely is going to be home. And you see Carlos drifting there. Fortunately, Gio was able to bat the ball down and make sure there was no advance.
That'll bring up Suzuki. He's going out to center and single to center. Base is still loaded. Fastball. That was a good at bat by Pluth.
He went into defensive mode and just flipped the ball into right field. Good plate coverage, not trying to do too much with it, knowing the situation he was in. A pitcher he'd never seen. And he turned it into gold.
Well, when you're facing a guy with a 98 mile, and you've seen a 98 mile an hour fastball, and you've seen a couple 89, 90 mile an hour sliders, and you get the bases loaded in tie game, you better get into a defensive mode.
He was that.
Two. Now here comes Coop.
And Don just wants to slow the game down for the young man. When you've been a lifetime starter, it's not a natural transition to move to the bullpen. And it's not a coincidence that the 2 times he's come in with runners on base, he hasn't fared as well as he did when he came into a clean inning in Baltimore. It's kind of the way things work for guys who have started their whole life and moved to the pen.
Well, in his first outing, his major league debut, Ryan Rayburn broke his bat and flared one into left field for a base hit. That was just a little duck snort right there but that's what major league hitters will do.
There's also the walks to Moss and Mauer as the first lefty they faced that contributed.
That ball into left field. Torrey Hunter's tagging. Everybody's tagging. But Murphy will get it back in. Hunter scores, and it's a 5-3 game.
Suzuki driving in his 10th run.
Well, that game that Rayburn got that broken bat, he had him struck out. Just off the plate. Escobar is going out to center, and he is going out to left. All right, they do come up with a couple runs. We trail at 5-3.
Text Subway to 97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Message and data rates may apply. Subway, eat fresh. So Aaron Thompson comes into the ball game. He's on for the 12th time. He's been the definition of a specialist. 11 appearances, covering 14 innings, but opponents hitting just 152, so he's had a very good run at it in the early going.
We saw him earlier. He's got a nice motion. You can see, if anything close to resembling a straight change comes up there, that'll get you a little in between as a hitter. Oh, and 2.
Velasco went 5. He gave up the 3 runs on 8 hits. He walked only 1. And Fanning 4. So his first outing since April 8th. I think Paul Molitor is very happy with the results.
Breaking ball. 1 out.
This third pitch is better than the second pitch. And he rings him up.
It's amazing. No, it's not. I love this game. Here's Avi. Smokes that one into right field. So he has hit it hard 3 times today. He's 2 for 3 with an RBI. Alexei is 2 for 2 with a run scored. Two for 2 against Nolasco. He is now 8 for 14 against Ricky. That pitch low and away. Broken bat. Should be. Nice pick by Mauer. Wow. Joe Mauer's throwing some weather over there. Meanwhile, we go to the bottom of 6, trailing by 2. Got a hold of my here, Carlos. It'll be the lower third of their order. Marcia, Schaefer, and Santana.
2 left-handers and a switch hitter to face Carlos this inning.
Garcia has struck out and gone out to center. Very quickly, the count 0-2.
There was a time in the career of Oswaldo Arcia where he decided he would switch hit, but not since he's put on a major league uniform. However, it's left-handers with sliders like Carlos Rodon that make you want to rethink that situation, especially if it's anywhere near the zone.
That's Souvenir left side.
Sox have a severe shift against Arcia. That time it looked like he was trying to take it to left field.
He's done that on a couple of swings.
Yeah, you got Connor Gillespie way out on the grass in right field. Lexi at his normal position, playing straightaway shortstop, with Micah Johnson playing pretty much a straight up second base.
Here you go. That one at 97.
He set him up with some sliders and then went to the fastball. Good spot, low and in, and he got him.
Here's Jordan Schaefer, the center fielder, has walked, scored. That was back in the third, and then bounced back to the pitcher. Gillespie on the grass. Abreu off the line, even with the bag at first. Big gap out there in right center. Top of the ninth inning at Fenway Park. Yankees leading the Red Sox 4-2. Checks it up and fouls it off.
No way that Schaefer is going to be able to catch up to a fastball up there. Not anywhere from 94 to 97.
That one hit in the right center field. That was at 95.
Drive away in a new White Sox themed Mazda 6i Sport and support Chicago White Sox charities. Buy your raffle ticket today at whitesox.com/SoxCar to purchase your raffle ticket. Thank you to our friends at C.J. Wilson Mazda for their support of the Sox Car Raffle.
Here's the shortstop, Danny Santana, who had an opposite field double leading off last inning when Minnesota scored a pair, if you're just tuning in, to take the lead at 5-3. That ball hit well into right field. So he's going to have another opposite field double, this time to right.
You can tell why they will put up with some defensive miscues from a very young switch hitting infielder. Danny Santana's very strong when the ball just flies off his bat. He's been opposite field from both sides of the plate, one off the wall, this one hopping the wall, and with his speed he easily runs him into doubles.
That'll bring up the leadoff hitter, the second baseman, who's 0 for 3 today, Brian Dozier. You know, I don't, just sitting here trying to think, I don't ever recall when I was playing against them or in all these years of broadcasting that I've ever seen a bad Minnesota infielder. I've seen a couple of guys a little shaky in the outfield, but never a bad infielder. In fact, to the contrary, they've all over the years had really good infields. Back when they had,
how about Gagne and Gaetti on the left side in those days?
Well,
Knobloch was a good player.
He was
a really good player.
He was a really good player. He got the
yips.
Yep, with throwing. That ball hit deep, and it is 7-3.
Oh
no, foul! Thank you very much.
That one right down the middle, and Dozier, who is very strong, hits the daylights out of it. Fortunately, it hugged the line for a while before Greg Gibson called it foul, and now Paul Molitor's coming out. He might want a word Let's see if he decides to appeal this. Molitor thinks that that ball hooked around the pole. And the only question is, did it hook in front or in back of the pole?
I know, and I was a little surprised when Gibson put his arms up.
Well, that ball was hit 8 miles. It was crushed. And the difficult thing will be if it went over the pole, it's going to be difficult to tell. So we'll take a look at it.
Well, it's definitely foul.
Well, from that angle, it has to be foul. The reason is you followed it all the way. If it goes in front of the pole and then into foul territory, you're going to lose the baseball going down the line. So,
no, if it goes in front of the pole,
you're going to see it all the way.
It's foul.
You know, but I mean, you're going to see the ball all the way. If it goes in back of the pole, you're going to lose it.
Three and one to count. Three runs on 9 hits for us. 5 runs on 7 hits for them.
It's normally not a bad idea to push back a base runner, but with 2 outs and a home run hitter up and a 3-1 count, you got to concentrate on him. There was a good idea throwing the slider.
Had him way out in front.
That ball dipping low and out of the zone.
And took something off of him. Line drive. Right to third, and that'll retire the side. We're into the 7th. We got to get some runs.
GNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, who's your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Emilio Bonifacio is going to lead us off here in the 7th, hitting for Gillespie, who was 1 for 2 today. It's a 5-3 Minnesota lead as they try to take the 3rd. of this 4-game set and make it 3 in a row. They won the opener 12-2. They won yesterday 1-0. Takes the bunt and takes the ball for the 2-0 count. Three and 0, take 2. There's one. There's 2. Torch him right here. Pops him up. So a good job by Thompson coming back from the 3-0 to the leadoff hitter. One out.
Thompson last year spent most of the year at AAA at Rochester. Did come up briefly toward the end. Appeared in 7 games with an ERA of .245.
Here's Soto. He's glad to see Nolasco out of there with that slow curveball. He struck him out twice. High and wide at 79. Okay. One and one.
Well, Giovanni can't say much about that pitch off the plate. That one was right on top of it and it went the other way.
Ball hit. Plouffe has played a strong 2.5 games of defense against us.
We've seen some great defense at the corners. Between Plouffe and Mauer, they've done just a great job.
Yeah, Mauer has really made some outstanding plays. Plouffe been very solid. As here's Micah. He's 0 for 2 with an RBI. And of course, that big play by Torrey Hunter yesterday, maybe the play of the game. Checks it up, takes a strike. One and one to count. Two balls and a strike. Outfield. Barely short. Swung around to the left. Nice gap out there in right center. And the count 3-1. Johnny Danks against Mike Pelfrey tomorrow. 1:10 start. That game will be over Comcast Sportsnet, so make your plans to be with us. Then we come home after that game. Off day on Monday. That's out of play. And then we will have Detroit coming in for 3, followed by Cincinnati for 3.
Cincinnati not having the greatest of years, but they've got one of the greatest pitchers around in Johnny Cueto. The Reds 11-12 this year, but if you happen to run into Cueto, it's not going to be a good afternoon for the hitters.
Roof with another nice play and a 1-2-3 inning. 7th inning stretch. We trail it 5-3.
Schedule.
Five 5-3 Minnesota here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Torrey Hunter been to the plate 3 times, hit it right on the money 3 times, once for a 2-run homer, once for another single. He scored twice as Bonifacio moves into third base. He takes first pitch strike at 93. One and one to count.
Big day for Torrey Hunter. He scored a couple of runs and hit a 2-run homer. Torrey said that it probably had the opportunity to go to a team that would have been in postseason chase. He felt, however, that it was a no-brainer to come back where he started, where he was comfortable, and where they certainly have appreciated him over the years.
5 for 10, now make it 6 for 11 in this series. So that'll bring up Bauer, who was the first guy that Carlos faced in the 5th inning. He walked him. Takes ball 1. And the count 2-0.
Big gap is in right center field. Javi is way off the line and deep in right.
There's the strike. Just a little 94-mile-an-hour get me over fastball.
Mauer with 13 walks and 14 strikeouts. Anytime you're close with walks to strikeouts, you're doing a pretty good job of it.
Two-one pitch. So the first 2 men aboard. And that'll bring up Plouffe, who had a good at bat against Carlos back in the 5th. To a 3-2 count, hit a little duck snort for an RBI in the right field.
Don Cooper keeping track of the amount of pitches with the clicker in his right hand. Each pitching coach has a book, and he's going to keep track of just exactly how many pitches each pitcher threw, how many innings he went, what he looked like on a given day, what the stuff looked like. He's also going to make sure that he keeps track of how long the warm-ups were, who warmed up in the bullpen.
That's foul. Well, there's not too many aspects of this game that they don't keep track of these days.
Now, the day and age of just going out there and instructing your pupils is over. You have to document everything, keep track of everything, make sure who's getting the work, who needs the work, when they've thrown before the game. It's just the life and times of any coach, but especially the hitting and the pitching coaches.
Well, hitting coach is the toughest uniform job in baseball. Always has been, always probably will be. But there are a lot of people, including managers and coaches, who feel like there's too much information given to these players. High pop up right side. Javi. There used to be a saying in baseball that is no longer in play, and that was, don't think you hurt the ball club.
Well, many times you are inundated with a great deal of information, some of it not particularly valid to your situation, because the advanced scout's going to take a look at what this guy did in the previous series or 2 series, and he's going to talk about the various pitchers he saw going head-to-head with them. But being a completely different guy, you're going to have to take that, filter out what you don't need, use what you can. You certainly want to know the guys who swing on the first pitch. You want to know guys who will bunt, guys who will steal. But some of the other things might not even apply to you, and yet you have this vast reservoir of information. Sometimes a pitcher can't possibly assimilate all of it, and then you wind up getting in your own head, as they say.
Well, if that weren't the case, why are we continuing to see innings go down and down and down? So
you're talking about the amount of innings pitched on a yearly basis.
Yes, I mean, they're just going down and down.
Yeah.
Less and less. And of course, you got to bring in another factor, that was non-existent a long time ago, and that was agents. There was a roller hit hard. Chuck makes the catch. So Suzuki hit it right on the money. Meanwhile, a nice running play by J.B. Shuck.
JB had a very good spring, and he made the ball club actually force his way on the team because he can run, he can certainly field, and he had a very good spring offensively. So here is the Xfinity Speed replay, and it shows JB running it down in left center field. The Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
One of the things that's one of my pet peeves in the game of baseball, one of the reasons that, in my opinion, innings are going down and down and down each and every year, is that I can't name you the last time, not just on our club, every club I'm talking about, that you can see pitchers coming out of spring training that are ready to play, that are ready to pitch. They just don't pitch enough innings.
Well, I was going to say they've cut down the innings considerably since yesteryear.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is unbelievable. Pitchers coming north that are coming out of spring training with 14 innings, 17 innings.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's unbelievable.
Well, there's a few things that don't make sense, and you can take a look at all of the times and distances in the Olympics and realize that athletes today are bigger, stronger, faster, and quicker than they've ever been in the history of sports. And yet, with that in mind, we're seeing more injuries, we're seeing less innings pitched, we're seeing less starts, and you wonder why that can possibly happen from a pitching standpoint. And you're seeing guys with horrific injuries, I mean, go down consistently. And the idea that there was an era where pitchers threw 300 to 325 innings, they threw it on a yearly basis, they had fairly long careers. Now when you get 200 innings, you're thought of as an absolute horse at 200 innings.
Guys who give you 200 innings today are probably going to make $20-25 million a year.
If you can win 15 and throw 200 innings and do that on a yearly basis, you're going to live in a very big house, drive very nice cars, and do pretty much whatever you want for the rest of your life. That was not the case.
That'll probably be a pass ball.
When you see a catcher miss one like that, you wonder about a cross-up. And Giovanni goes out there to talk with Carlos.
Didn't look too much like a cross-up.
Well, they might have been expecting the slider to slide. It didn't.
It
backed up and slid on by him.
All right, here's the payoff pitch to Escobar. Big rip. Well, something's wrong with the picture when you've got high school pitchers throwing more innings in a week than major league pitchers. And I mean appreciably more innings.
Yep. I think one of the factors, and I talked with Bert Blyleven about this, he was one of the more durable pitchers around. And guys aren't using their legs as much now. You're having a lot taller pitchers that are straight up pitchers. They're not using the lower part of their body, and if you just look at the symmetry of a body, the legs are much bigger than the arm.
Slider down and in, he gone. And we're into the eighth.
Twins have the only error of the game. Hector Nuese lasted into the fifth, gave up 5 hits and 5 runs. Torrey Hunter, the chief culprit today, 3 for 4, with a 2-run homer and a couple of runs scored. That's brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer.
And Hunter yesterday, the chief culprit, with that tremendous catch off the bat of Gillespie. It could have been a game saver. Gordon Beckham hitting for Shuck, who was 2 for 3 with an RBI today and also a nice catch. So JB had a good game. Gordon with a big base hit last night. Nice, another nice play by Puth. Ball hit hard by Beckham, 1 out. We're talking about innings pitched, and we understand that Will Light, back in 18 and 79, had 75 starts, pitched 680 innings. And he started 75 of the 80 games they played that season.
Well, it was 43 and 31.
Well, that's over. That's over. 12 over.
He also completed every game he started. Now, they obviously didn't want to give him a raise because he was only 12 over. They felt in those days he should be much better than that.
So here's Melky. He's 2 for 3 with a run scored.
Twins bullpen up and going.
He won't get that one. So Melky, his 3rd hit. More importantly, the tying run coming to the plate.
I would think that would probably be it for Thompson. With Abreu strolling to the plate.
And Molitor poised. He's on point down in that dugout. And here he comes. So Thompson works 2 1/3 innings. He'll depart, and we'll be back.
His record 1-1, his ERA 3.65, on for the 12th time. Opponent's batting average is very high against him, 298 this year with 14 hits in 12 1/3 innings. During the course of his career, he's been pretty tough on the right-handers, holding them to a .227 batting average, giving up just 1 home run to right-hand hitters.
So here's Abreu. He's 0 for 2. He was also hit by a pitch, not hit hard. Melky, pretty good lead. And first pitch strike.
There's a lefty warming up in the pen, and with LaRoche in the on-deck circle, it could very well be that, pending the outcome of this at bat, Brian Dunsing will probably be in to face LaRoche.
Foul ball, just foul, dadgummit. Of course, the way Mauer's been playing first base on the other side of that page, if it had been fair, he probably would have caught it.
It'd be awfully tough to get the ball between Mauer and the bag when he's holding Cabrera close, because he didn't come off the bag all that far.
I'm telling you, that ball was hit hard. The 0-2 pitch going inside. Another fastball, and that's flipped into right field. So 2 down.
And I would think that it would be Brian Dunsing. We'll see what Paul Molitor wants.
He's poised again, talking with Neil Allen now. He comes out of that dugout. So he's going hitter to hitter. Blaine Boyer comes in, gets our big guy Jose Abreu, and he'll depart, and we'll be back.
The disabled list. Dunsing out for the 7th time. He's been asked to save 1 game, and he was successful, but his ERA is way up there. Tyler Flowers is coming on to pinch hit for Adam LaRoche. Tyler hitting .217 with a home run and 6 driven in. His first pinch hitting opportunity of the year.
(5-3) Minnesota on top here in the top of the 8th inning. Melky now with a shorter lead. And he takes first pitch strike.
Michael Tonkin loosening in the pen. Dunsing picked up his 2nd career save with a scoreless inning in the 3rd on the 10th of this month at U.S. Cellular Field.
High and wide, 1-1. Outfield very deep, straight up, spread out.
He's another one of those pitchers that we've seen that spent a great deal of time in the starting rotation. He had 61 starts, but his ERA as a starter was 4.57. Then they decided to move him into the bullpen. His ERA about a full point lower as a relief pitcher.
Overall, he's done a good job against us.
Yes, he has.
Two out and a 1-2 pitch.
Outfield very deep all the way around. Suzuki out to talk, and now Marvin Hudson comes out to break it up.
Well, I'm not talking. They're having a conversation. Man.
Well, many times when they can't hook up on a sign, a catcher will explain to a pitcher just why he's calling the pitch that he calls. And sometimes it's on a direct signal from the bench as to what he wants to throw.
Well, the guy out on the mound is the one throwing the ball. He's got to throw a pitch with conviction.
If he
doesn't want to throw it,
that's a problem.
You better believe it is. And there's ball 4. So tying runs aboard. And Molitor with Ivy at the plate. Ivy today has hit the ball hard all 3 times. He's 2 for 3 with an RBI. And here comes Paul once again.
Michael Tonkin coming in the ball game, and we saw him in the opener pitch the 3rd of an inning. So as Dunsing walks out and Tonkin walks in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. Shy Sox Bar and Grill offers a full menu from Gibson's Restaurant Group. It also features 70 flat screen HD TVs, and it's open 4 hours prior to all home games. Shy Sox Bar and Grill is located at the Gate 5 Plaza. And it's king-size right-hander, 6'7" Michael Tonkin coming in. Second appearance in the series.
And tomorrow they have another 6'7" pitcher. Mike Pelfrey is going to be out on a bump. So here we go. 2 on, 2 out. We trail it by 2. And Avi Garcia at the plate.
Tonkin was recalled before this series. As the injuries have piled up on the Twins.
Watch out. 1-0 the count. Oh, yeah. 2-0. Outfield spread out, still very deep. Only run they're concerned about right now is standing on first base. Takes it right there. 2-1. Two on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Oh, good rip.
He got a fastball up and out over the plate and was right on it, but fouled it straight back.
He had the barrel on it. Just underneath it. It's full.
Lexi Ramirez waiting to get his opportunity. If Bobby can keep it alive.
Payoff. That ball hit high in the right center field on the track. Hauls it in. And that will end that. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It is still 5-3 Twins.
checking and an official White Sox MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to www.wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, a member FDIC. Emilio Bonifacio moves from third base to center field, and Gordon Beckham, who came on to pinch hit, moves into third base.
So here's Arcia. Oswaldo 0 for 3 today with a couple of punch outs. Takes ball 1. The 1-1. Ball hit hard by Beckham.
Here is the closer, Glenn Perkins. He came on, was a little shaky last evening, gave up a couple of hits, but at the end of the day, got Tyler Flowers to look at strike 3 to end the ball game last night.
Schaefer has walked, scored, bounced back to the pitcher, and going out to center.
Tough to bunt a ball when it's right at you. Jake Petrichka loosening up in the bullpen.
Right back at him. Going to go to second base. Good play. Can they get him? No. Good athletic play right there by Carlos.
Carlos got to the ball quickly. The ball is bunted way too hard, but because it's well inside, there's no chance for Schaefer to make a real good bunt. But a lot of pitchers would not go to second base here. Carlos never hesitated, and they had a shot at 2. But Schaefer's too fast.
Here's Santana. He's 2 for 3 with 2 opposite field doubles. One hitting left-handed, one hitting right-handed. He also has scored a run. Ball hit by Micah Johnson. So 1 out, 2 on.
And here comes Robin.
Well, Carlos, I should say, has been out there since the 5th inning. So he works 3 2/3. He departs, and we'll be back.
years. You can watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD. There's real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. MLB.TV Premium includes a free At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch at home, in the office, or on the go. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. So the day is over for Carlos Rodon, and Jake Petrichka comes on for the 5th time. The ERA 7.20. He is 0-1, and he inherits base runners at first and second. He can ill afford to give up anything from here, but he goes right to the top with Dozier, Hunter, and if anybody keeps it alive, Joe Mauer.
Dozier 0 for 4 today. Just narrowly missed a home run as he takes low ball 1. Sox looking to turn their first double play of the ball game. Minnesota in this game has turned 3 of them. 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th. Turned 2 last night. Torrey Hunter on deck, who is 3 for 4 with a 2-run homer. And has hit it hard all 4 at bats. Okay, boys, take your time. Yes. Rack them up. That a boy, Jake. We'll go to the 9th. We need 2 to tie.
Approach he wants to use against Glenn Perkins, who comes into the ball game, and he is the closer for this team. Last year he had a strained forearm and he blew 7 saves, which is most uncharacteristic for him. This year in the early going he is 7 for 7, including last night. Opponents hitting just 189. By his own admission, an oddity he put into the public domain, which is really unusual for a closer. He doesn't like to throw his slider when he has a runner at third base. which is very good for hitters. But if you have that problem, probably should keep it to yourself.
Alexei hits it hard in the center field. Meanwhile, in this ballpark, that's just a long out. 1 pitch, 1 out. Alexei now 2 for 4. He's swinging that much better. Well, a lot of guys don't like to throw a breaking ball to the man on third, especially if they don't have the right guy behind the plate.
That's true.
Well, when you had Rick Dempsey, you didn't mind it.
Nope. No, he was as good as it got at digging out low pitches. But if you do have that, it's one of the things that in this day and age with the social media and everything else, you might want to just keep it to yourself.
I wish the pitchers would have told us that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I won't throw you a breaking ball or a changeup. Why don't you just look for that fastball because it's coming.
Bonifacio Emilio, he pinch hit. Hitting off the 7th. Popped up. 1-1 the count. There's a bunt if he gets by him, but it's not. He gets by him, one more step, then he beats it out. Meanwhile, 2 out.
We have seen some pretty good fielding pitchers on both sides of the equation, and it certainly helps if you can do that. And that time Perkins got to it, and wisely Mauer comes over to give him a breath, as does Plouffe. And got to try to keep it alive right here.
Well, that's another symptom of a team in a slump. The other team makes plays on it.
Boy, they've made some good ones. This has been a good defensive effort today.
And yesterday.
Only guy that had some problems was Danny Santana. Everybody else played really well all the way around.
Well, nothing's hitting the ground out in that outfield. Soto fouls it back. He's looking for his first hit. He's 0 for 3. Jacks it up, and count 1-2. There's the other side of that page too, in a picture with that social media letting that out. All of a sudden you read it, you're hitting against him the next night, you go to the plate, man on third, 3 sliders down in, grab some bench.
He's been missing inside, and the umpires in the stands are not happy, but these are not strikes. And Gio taking some close pitches, but they're inside off the plate.
Full count with 2 out. Plouffe. And this ball game is over. So we have run our record to 2-10 on the road as they take the first 3 games of the series. They win the opener 12-2. They win last night 1-0. They win today 5-3, and we'll be back.